What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WrestleRant Ranks, where every single Monday I, Graham GSM Matthews, do tier lists and quizzes, power rankings. And today, in honor of Triple H having taken over WWE, the reins of the company and its creative control 3 years ago this past summer, I thought it would be only appropriate to rank every Triple H hire in the last 3 years, as of today, Monday, August 25th, or whatever it is, 2025. I may go back and update this tier list, not this video, but the actual tier list on tierlistmaker.com that I created, actually. So I'll include the link to the tier list down below in the description box if you want to fill it out for yourself. And I found a couple lists, kind of including every Triple H rehire in the past 3 years, a few lists that excluded a few people. So I went in and included everyone. And this isn't just the rehires from the first few months of Triple H having taken over the company, like, the Dakota Kais and the Karrion Crosses and people like that. I'm also including Aleister Black, Rusev from this past year, CM Punk from 2023. All of those people used to work for WWE and have since returned to the company thanks to Triple H. So we're not including Penta or Phoenix, Ricky Starks in NXT, Blake Monroe, anyone that's in NXT now. Shawn Spears I did not include because he's not on the main roster. Triple H technically brought him back, but he's on NXT. Those people are not included. Brock Lesnar is also not included because he was never technically fired from the company, released, not even suspended. He was just off the show from SummerSlam 2023 to SummerSlam 2025. He was never actually gone from the company. He was just off television. So you can check out the tier list for yourself down below on tierlistmaker.com, created by yours truly. Also down below in the description box, you can find every other installment in a playlist of this very show dating back to the beginning of this year. You can also find out more information on how to become a WrestleRant All Access Pass channel member to get videos like this early and ad-free, among many other perks. $5 a month helps support the channel. More information on that down below in the description box. But at the very least, just like the video, subscribe. All that support is greatly appreciated. So let's get right into it here. This includes 28 different images, not 28 people, because they did include some people in packages, such as the OC, that being Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. I put the Authors of Pain and Paul Ellering together. I did not put Hit Row together, because Ashanti D. Adonis, Top Dollar, and B-Fab all kind of went their separate ways after 2023, after Top Dollar was released 2 years ago. So I did not include them as a unit. I did put Karrion Kross and Scarlett together because they've kind of been associated with one another since they were both brought back to the company in 2022. Now no longer with the company seemingly, but we'll get to that. So in no real order here. I think they're in alphabetical order, actually, so they are in an order, but not by chronological order. And I did include Nikki Bella, too. Technically, she does count. She was not working for WWE even a year or two ago. She re-signed with them earlier this year, was brought back under a Legends deal, and is now currently on the Raw roster, feuding with Becky Lynch, actually, over the Women's Intercontinental Championship. I did not include people like Io Sky and Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss, you might remember earlier this year, was having contract negotiations with the company, was brought back at the Royal Rumble. She was off television due to her pregnancy, but I don't think she was ever actually not under contract at WWE. They either extended her deal or she signed a new one. I don't think she was ever actually gone from WWE. And then Io Sky, if you remember, she may have been gone from the company back in 2022. This was after she got hurt earlier in the year. Vince McMahon was still in charge of the company at that point, did not want to promote her to the main roster. What a fucking idiot. And then Triple H, I think, either re-signed her or signed her to a new deal and promoted her to the main roster. I did not include her here, though, because I don't know if that's actually accurate as far as whether she was truly gone from the company. I don't think she was ever actually gone, but she was probably on her way out. So nonetheless, let's start at the beginning here. Aleister Black. Still a little too soon to say. He's only been back for a few months. He was brought back on the SmackDown after WrestleMania with the OG entrance theme. I mean, that's a big part of the success that he's had so far on SmackDown, which is not to say he's done a whole lot, because he really hasn't. But he was brought back with the OG entrance theme, which was awesome. He did suffer his first loss a few months back to R-Truth, which was kind of random. They had a match this past week on SmackDown as well. He has since turned heel, feuding with Damian Priest. I'm going to have to put him in the C category for now. I might move that up to a B later on, depending on how other people pan out. There really aren't a lot of great rehires here. I will just tell you out of the gate, because a lot of these people are no longer with WWE. I think Triple H just kind of brought back a lot of these people to pad out the rosters when they were depleted back in 2022 after Vince fired fucking everyone from 2020 to 2022 during the COVID years, during the pandemic years, including Aleister Black. But anyway, I'll put Aleister Black in C for now. Not that he's had a bad run, he just hasn't really done a whole lot of note, and it's only been 4 months. But from what I've seen, it's been great to see him back in WWE with the OG entrance theme. He's been doing well as a heel, so I'll include him in the C category for now. Ashanti the Adonis, God bless the guy. He's a talented wrestler, but Hit Row never really took off during that second stint. On their own, I liked Hit Row. I was happy they were brought back in 2022, but they had a ceiling without Swerve Strickland. The crown jewel of that group, who that group really should have been built around, was Swerve. Not Ashanti, not B-Fab, not even Top Dollar, who's been doing well in TNA to his credit. It was Swerve. So without Swerve and him being in AEW, the group was doomed to fail ultimately, and the booking didn't really help. They never really got over with the audience during their second stint with the company, even after turning heel. So Ashanti they did keep around. They fired Top Dollar, who I'll get to later on. Ashanti was kept around and just put in NXT. So he was put in a tag team with Cedric, and I don't think that tag team ever made it to television on SmackDown, but he was put in NXT about a year ago. And just recently, his contract was not renewed, and he's gone from WWE. I would have to put him in the D category. I mean, again, he did his best to, maybe C, actually. I'll give him credit to, in that he kind of rejuvenated his character. He was doing the Carmen Petrovic thing. He had some decent matches in NXT. He was on the show pretty consistently, actually, for about a year before they did not renew his deal. So you could have had a worse run, I guess. I'll put him in the C category. I might move that, but for now we'll put him in the bottom of C. Authors of Pain and Paul Ellering were legitimately, I mean, they were back for a lot longer. I think the rumor was that Triple H brought them back in 2023, if not 2022. They were back for a long time before they were finally reintroduced on television in early 2024 alongside Karrion Kross in the Final Testament. And I thought the stable had potential. They did not do anything. The group I thought was good. A lot of people did not give a shit about them. They were not really booked all that well. The only thing they did of note during that entire run when they were back for almost exactly a year, they were fired in early 2025. So they were back on television for almost exactly a year. The only thing they did in that time was compete at WrestleMania. I don't think they ever competed at Mania previously. They might have in like an Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I don't think so, though, because they debuted after Mania in 2018. I don't think they were at Mania in 2019. They could have been, because I think one, if not both of them, were hurt. But anyway, they got to compete at Mania 40 in a street fight with the Pride, Bobby Lashley's group with the Profits. But beyond that, they didn't really do a whole ton. And I like the group. I like that Paul Ellering was brought back with them. They didn't have bad matches or anything, but they really weren't booked all that well and weren't a threat, so I'll have to put them in the D category. B-Fab, bless her heart, seems like a sweetheart, but she's just not that good. She's easily one of the weaker women they still have on the show, and she still works there, so they must have re-signed her into a deal, because Ashanti the Adonis's deal, I imagine they signed their deals at the same time when Top Dollar and Ashanti and B-Fab all came back as part of Hit Row 3 years ago. She must have signed a new deal, because otherwise her contract would have run out a while ago, or at least this past weekend or a few weeks ago. And she's still there on the SmackDown show. So to her credit, she has improved, but she's still not all that good. And she still works there. So she is like the Carmella of Enzo and Cass, in which she kind of withstood the test of time. And she was, she still works there on SmackDown. So I guess that to her credit, she's still there. So I'll put her in the D category above AOP, and that she's actually been there for 3 years and still works there, but she really hasn't done a whole ton else otherwise. And again, she's been improving and she's gotten better a little bit, but that's not really saying much when you were pretty bad to begin with. Again, nothing against her as a person, but I'll have to put her in the D category. Braun Strowman. Now, I know he does not work there anymore. I thought he had a great return run in WWE. A fantastic return run. He was perfectly used from the beginning of when he was brought in late 2022. He was over from that point because he was already established from all the years that he spent in WWE on the main roster from 2015 through 2021. He was gone for a little over a year, brought back as a monster, feuded with Omos. They had a fun match at Crown Jewel in 2022, I think that would have been. Teamed with Ricochet for a little while, had a good feud with Gunther over the Intercontinental Championship. He was gone for about a year with like a neck surgery or something like that, but when he was brought back, he feuded with the Judgment Day for a little bit, had that great feud with Bronson Reed on Raw, the very fun feud with Jacob Fatu on SmackDown from earlier this year, ultimately putting him over as well. So Strowman was utilized really, really well. He did not win any championships or anything along those lines, but I'm going to put him in the B category. I might even move him up to A. The only reason I don't have him in A is because he missed a year due to the injury from 2023 to 2024. And then not only that, but he also no longer works there. They did not re-sign Braun. They fired him earlier this year, which sucks because I thought he was a good big man. But, the report was that he was injured not injured all the time, but his body was beaten up and he wasn't really moving around all that well, which I can understand. But he was a big man that was having good matches and it was over. I don't know what they would be doing with him now if he was still on SmackDown, but I enjoyed his run for as long as it lasted. So I'll put him in the B category for now. Bray Wyatt, rest in peace, is hard to rank because he really wasn't around for all that long. What we got initially was great. When he initially came back and the whole White Rabbit campaign was fucking awesome. In the fall of 2022, culminating in the epic return at Extreme Rules in which Alexis and I drove 4-5 hours just to see that live for the sole purpose of seeing Bray Wyatt return, and it was well worth it. Now, the subsequent LA Knight feud was fun in parts. His one and only televised match with Knight at the Royal Rumble sucked. The lights out, Mountain Dew match, the blackout match or whatever the fuck it was, pitch black match was not good. It was a hot, steaming pile of garbage. But, Bray Wyatt was over and he reinvented himself, and we'll never really know truly where they were headed with the whole Wyatt Six idea. I mean, they've since, kind of resurrected that as part of the Wyatt Six stable, and I'll get to them later on because they brought back a lot of the people in that group as well. A lot of the people in that group currently were people that were rehired by Triple H. But anyway, Bray Wyatt was only around for about a year. He was brought back in late 2020, and he wasn't even really around for a year. He was brought back in late 2022, had that epic return. They didn't really seemingly know what to do with him after that, or if they did, they really took their time in getting to that point. And then the Night feud ended. He was supposed to feud, I think, with Brock, and Brock said no, so they moved him into a feud with Bobby Lashley, which sucked for the few weeks that it lasted for. Then he got sick, and then he passed away later that year. So it's kind of hard to grade Bray just because of his legacy. And honestly, the return alone is better than almost anyone else on this list aside from CM Punk. So I'll put him in the B category. That's probably just being generous because he's no longer with us. But he just meant so much to that company, and getting him back was a big dub, even though the run itself left a lot to be desired. But we also just don't really know where it was going to go. Would he have bounced back? Would it have gotten better? Was he going to debut his own stable? Seemingly, yes. We've heard from a lot of people that confirmed that was the case. That's where that whole Uncle Howdy thing was going. But I'll put him in the B category just because it had some rough moments and it was also cut short. And obviously that wasn't his fault. He passed away. But still, it was the initial part of it was fun while it lasted. And it got that great moment, if nothing else, at Extreme Rules. One of the best returns in WWE history. Bronson Reed's been back now for almost 3 years. And I'm going to put him in the A category because, one, this is a low bar to set, but he still works there and is now involved in a top program, a top stable on the Raw roster with Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman, and Braun Breaker. That's a pretty prominent spot to find yourself in. Not only that, he also had that great feud with Braun Strowman last year that was one of the best feuds in all of 2024 in any company in professional wrestling. They worked a very fun series of matches, the fun feud that he had with Seth Rollins to close out the year before he got hurt. He was involved in the War Games main event. He was out for about 6 months, but picked up right where he left off, thankfully, by being put in this main event program with The Vision. So prior to that point, he really wasn't doing a whole ton from 2022 through 2024 until the Braun Strowman feud. He was just a mid-card guy, lost a lot of his matches, really lost whenever it mattered most, but it wasn't like he was doing bad work. So between those 2 years being solid, albeit unspectacular, and then the last year really being his big breakout year, more than anyone else on this list, he's got to be an A. To me, he's got to be an A. He's had a very good run. They finally figured out how to use the guy, and they're using him to his full potential. And we'll see where else he's going to go in the future. And now he might be on the brink of facing Roman Reigns at Clash in Paris, which is really cool. Candice LeRae I did not include with Johnny Gargano because she has had her own separate run since coming back to the company. Johnny came back first. Candice was brought back a few weeks later on the Raw roster, but she struggled to get over. She really isn't still over to this day. And I like Candice. I've always been a Candice LeRae fan, and she's had some fine matches. Nothing that really stands out as being special since she was brought back to WWE 3 years ago. She's just kind of been there. She was teaming with Indy for a little while as part of their history in the way. That was a nice use of her. And then they turned her heel alongside DIY earlier this year, I think it was. Or she was already a heel. They just kind of realigned her with Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. She's just kind of been there. And Candice, at this point, isn't really someone you're going to build your entire division around anyway. She's a fine utility player. She's someone you put in there, given her experience, that can help put other people over, give them good matches and stuff like that. So I'll put her in the C category above Ashanti, because at least she never got demoted to NXT and she still works there. But Aleister Black has already been better pushed, more so than Candice ever was on SmackDown or on Raw up to this point in her return run. Carlito was utilized well for the 2 years he was there. He was brought back in 2023 after that great pop at Backlash from Puerto Rico, and he returned to the company on television later that year as part of the LWO. Honestly, he didn't really have a bad run at all. I thought they utilized Carlito very well, and I think people may not like this, but I'm going to put him in the B category. I'll put him below Bray. I mean, I feel like it would be sacrilegious to put him above Bray. And it's like, oh yeah, he was nothing but a jobber. But they utilized Carlito perfectly. Like, the fact he was even brought back at all was awesome. He wasn't really someone people were clamoring to see another run for. But after the Royal Rumble run that he had back in 2021, I'm glad they finally followed up on that, brought him back for a little bit. He was a great comedy character in the Judgment Day for as long as he was in that group, for about a year, from 2024 through earlier this year, back in June, when he was not renewed by the company. And in 2023, he was doing the LWO stuff. He was having matches with Rey Mysterio, Santos Escobar, and some decent matches at that, racking up a few wins along the way. So, and then he turned heel in 2024 and turning on the LWO and joining the Judgment Day when he moved to the Raw roster in 2024. So I actually like Carlito's run a lot. Again, a lot of people might scoff at the idea that he might be in the B category because he was nothing but a jobber, but he actually was utilized a lot better than I think people remember. CM Punk is an easy S, and I'm not just saying that because I'm biased because I'm a Punk guy, but he's had an awesome run so far. He was brought back 2 years ago. That return itself, a lot like Bray, was in the S category alone. But unlike Bray, thankfully, he's been able to kind of fulfill his full potential, and nothing has gotten in the way as far as illness or injury. He did get hurt for a little while in 2024, but he was always on the show regardless. He was constantly on the show, maintained a presence on WWE television. The feud with Drew was awesome. The Rollins feud has been dragging on there for a little bit. I won't debate you on that. But the overall feud's been a lot of fun. He got to main event WrestleMania earlier this year, won the World Heavyweight Championship, albeit briefly at SummerSlam, and had a great match with Gunther. He's had a lot of great matches along the way. Easily the best Triple H rehire so far, and someone that we probably never thought would be back in WWE, especially with Triple H being in charge, given their checkered past from many years ago. So he's been utilized great. You can always kind of nitpick and say, oh, he's lost on pay-per-view a lot this year, or he could be winning more, they should turn him heel. I agree with all of that, but it's still been an amazing run overall. Dakota Kai is an interesting one. I would probably put her in the B category. Now, they let her go earlier this year, which disappointed me because I thought Dakota Kai was really good. She was probably, I think, the first rehire for Triple H, brought back at SummerSlam within days of Triple H taking over creative. She was brought back alongside Damage Control when Io Sky and Bayley returned. Io Sky debuted on the main roster, and Dakota Kai returned, also debuting on the main roster as part of that group that on that pay-per-view. She was one half of the tag team champions a few different times. Great utility player. Had a few matches with Lyra Valkyria earlier this year over the Women's Intercontinental Championship, which is why I was bummed they let her go, because I thought she was a perfect fit for that scene on the Raw roster. But she had a fine run. I would probably put her over Carlito, but probably put her above Bray because she was around for a while and she won a few championships. And, Damage Control was not booked great at all times at all, but she was a regular presence on the show and had some very good matches along the way. So Braun, I thought, was just utilized perfectly. So I won't put her above Braun, but I'll put her above Bray. Dexter Lumis is an interesting one. Triple H brought him back after he was fired earlier on in 2022 by Vince in NXT, maybe by Triple H himself. But I imagine if he was brought back by Triple H, that Triple H wasn't the one who let him go earlier that year. But he wanted to give him a shot. Dexter Lumis was a different character than everyone else on this list, kind of more of a, not supernatural character, but like a weird, creepy character. And I thought he was perfect for the main roster sports entertainment element of it all. And, the Miz feud I enjoyed. It dragged on for way longer than it needed to in late 2022. And then as soon as that ended, he just completely fucking disappeared from the show. And now finally he has resurfaced as part of the Wyatt Six. They disappeared for a while. Granted, though, he is now one half of the WWE Tag Team Champions on SmackDown. So it's not been a complete bust. He is still with the company. He's missed a lot of television time. I don't think he himself has been hurt, but he's been off TV a lot. So he hasn't really done much beyond the Miz feud that kind of fizzled out. And now as part of the Wyatt Six, who are finally starting to gain momentum again. And now he's one half of the WWE Tag Team Champions. So I can't put him in the D category because of that. I'll put him in C, but below Alistair, because he's been gone for a lot of the time that he's been back with the company. But I'll put him above Candice, because at least he's won gold, and we'll see how long he holds it for. And that great TLC match that he was a part of as well at SummerSlam a few weeks ago. Emma's run, honestly, blinking, you missed it. I was very happy when they brought Emma back. I was a big Emma fan back in the day from her NXT stint on the main roster as well. I loved Emma, and I enjoyed her work as well in Ring of Honor and in TNA. And then they brought her back when she left TNA in 2022, but she did nothing. She answered Ronda Rousey's open challenge, and they had a good match. And then I don't think she really wrestled on SmackDown much after that. She had a few matches, but she never really won shit. She was legitimately a jobber for the entire time she was there. And unlike with Carlito, she was barely on television. She didn't have much of a storyline. They were teasing something with her and Riddick Moss, her real-life now husband, I believe. But that never really went anywhere either. And I think they tried turning her heel on Main Event, but I don't know if that's WWE canon or not, so to speak. I don't know, but she was let go within a year by the company. It was great to have her back for a little bit there. Someone I never really thought would return to WWE 5 years after being let go in 2017. It was nice to see that Triple H gave her another shot, but how much of a shot did he really give her? Because she didn't do shit. So I'll put her below Authors of Pain, because at least they were on the show a little bit more and won more matches and were on Raw and SmackDown a bit more than Emma was. Eric Young, you're probably wondering why he's on here. He was actually rehired by Triple H, so he does fucking count. He never actually returned to television. And I think he was supposed to as part of the Wyatt Six storyline when Bray was still around. Now they're doing the Wyatt Six, and Eric Young went back to TNA, so it didn't happen. But Eric Young was brought back to the company by Triple H in 2022. And then when Vince returned to WWE, Eric Young said, "Fuck this, I'm out. I don't want to work for this guy." And he said peace, again, after already getting released a few years earlier. So Eric Young did not last long. He's got to be the bottom of D. And I like Eric Young. He's had a very fun run in TNA when he was back a few years ago, and also when he came back, since he's been back in the past 2 years as a heel and whatnot. I think he was back as a babyface and then as a heel again. But anyway, he didn't do anything in the time that he was back in WWE. So I got to put him at bottom of D. Eric Rowan's an interesting one in that also like Dexter Lumis, he was brought back as part of the Wyatt Six stuff a few years ago. Was off TV for a lot of it, and he's actually not one half of the tag team champions. So the Wyatt Six stuff has been fine. I'll put him at the bottom of C, because at least Dexter Lumis has been around for longer, and he's one half of the tag team champions. Rowan is not. But it's nice to see Rowan back as a nod to the old, Bray Wyatt family group and whatnot. And we'll see where else he goes from here. Not much more to say on that. Johnny Gargano has been disappointing in the sense that I would have hoped by now they would have done more with him on his own. And they had a chance. I'm happy we got DIY on the main roster, because DIY is a fantastic tag team. They had a chance to do more with Johnny on his own from late 2022 when he was brought back to late 2023. And he seemed to be building some momentum, but they never fully capitalized on that and then just put him right in the tag team with Ciampa, which has been great, and they've had success. And I'll put him in the B category. I'll probably put him above Dakota, but below Braun. I'll put him above Braun, actually, because he's had some really good matches. But they really haven't gotten over at the level people wanted them to. And I don't know. I might even move him to bottom of A, because he's still around and he's had success in the tag team division. But I really wanted Johnny, and maybe he still can, probably not at this point, to have success in the singles ranks. I just don't really think that's in the cards at this point. He's been slotted at a certain level for so long now. After the amazing run he had in NXT, you would think he would have done more in WWE since being back, but at least he's been successful at the tag team level, if nothing else. Kairi Sane, she's held the tag titles a couple times. They kind of found a role for her in the Damage Control group, which was good. but she really hasn't done anything else beyond that. She's really just been a background player. Even now in the Io Sky Asuka storyline, she's really just kind of the third wheel in that story. But she's had a fine run. I'll put her in C. I mean, she's kind of like the Carlito, and she's had more success. So I'll put her at the B level. She hasn't really, again, done anything on her own, but she's really been like Carlito, or she's been a supporting character, but at least she's won a couple championships as far as being the tag team champion. So there has been that. I'll give her that at least. Michin, you know what? I'm going to put her, she's an interesting one. She has really come into her own, and she hasn't won any championships or anything like that. I might put her atop of B. Yeah, I don't know. I like Michin a lot. I'll put her below Dakota. We have a lot of B's here, but Michin, I almost put her in A, but Michin still isn't as over with the audience as she should be. But she's someone who has completely exceeded expectations, who was brought in as a supporting character in the OC group with Gallows and Anderson and AJ Styles, but really broke out on her own about a year or so ago, including her brief NXT run when she was back there last year, the feud with Jada Parker, and also had a great series of matches with Chelsea Green over the Women's United States Championship, won a street fight against her late last year. And I like what they've done with Michin at the mid-card level. She'll probably never be the WWE Women's Champion, but she can continue to have success at the mid-card level on Friday nights if they continue to book her the way that she has been. So I'll put her at the middle of B, and I like what she's done so far. Naomi's had an amazing run. Even as a babyface, she was at least over. And she was one half of the tag team champions with Bianca Belair as well, actually. After Jade went down with an injury, she filled in for Jade. Inexplicably just kind of took the championship from Jade as one half of the tag team champions. But, she was over even prior to that point. She got championship opportunities last year. She was on PLE. She had that great return of the Royal Rumble last year. Then turning heel, having a great heel run, winning the briefcase, winning the Women's World Championship after cashing it successfully. Now she's pregnant, had to give up the championship last week, but still, her entire return run has been amazing. So I'll probably put her in S as well. She's been one of the best Triple H rehires so far. She has just been fantastic. So I'll probably have to put her in the S category. Might move her down to A, but she's had way more success than Bronson Reed, but I'll put her in S because she's had a phenomenal run so far. Nikki has not been back long enough to really judge, but I liked what they've done with Nikki. I thought her return of the Rumble was fine. I wasn't really clamoring for another Bella Twins run in WWE. But I will say Nikki is far more bearable and far better than Brie. Brie just sucks, I'm sorry. Nikki is much better on her own. And then she was gone after the Rumble until, and I won't include Trish in this group either, because Trish is not a regular on the roster, but Nikki seems to be more of a regular than Trish was. But anyway, with Nikki Bella, she's now been placed in the feud with Becky Lynch over the Women's Intercontinental Championship. She was doing an alliance with Stephanie for a little bit. She was brought back for Evolution, and she's been fine so far. So I'll put her, she's far more relevant than Candice, so I'll put her above Candice. Dexter's had a little bit more success, so I'll put her behind Dexter. But, C's not bad. It's just that we haven't really seen fully what Nikki's going to do yet, but what we've gotten so far has been good. So I will give her that. R-Truth, this does technically count because his contract, well, I don't know if this counts. I'm going to count it anyway because he was supposed to be released. That was announced. He was supposed to be let go. He technically was let go and taken off the website. And then they brought him back after re-signing a new contract. I don't think he was ever actually a free agent or he was about to be. I'm not exactly sure. But this was legitimate, and then he was brought back. So we're only going since he was brought back. Unfortunately, since he was brought back, they have done jack shit with R-Truth. Nothing. He cut his hair, acted more serious, wanted to be called Ron Killings and all this other shit. We were all very excited. They have done fucking nothing with the guy. Again, he's had a couple matches with Aleister Black, John Cena. Cool, but none of those have really been overly meaningful, and he hasn't really had a whole lot of focus on SmackDown. And then he went right back to doing the old, I'm jolly old R-Truth, with John Cena a few weeks ago in that backstage segment. So it's been very disappointing. At least he's more relevant than B-Fab, so I'll put him above B-Fab, but it's been definitely disappointing to say the least. Rusev has not been back for that long. I will put him in the C category as well. He's been on every week. He's pretty much in the same group as Alistair, and then he's been on every week. The feud with Sheamus has been fun. He'll be on the Clash in Paris PLE with Sheamus, which I'm looking forward to. I think Alistair's been booked a little bit better. Maybe even not necessarily. I mean, they're kind of in the same group. Yeah, I'll put Alistair above Rusev. But not, you know what, I'll put Rusev actually above Alistair, because at least Rusev's been on the show quite a bit. He's won more matches. Alistair was like off the show for a little bit. It was kind of weird. We'll put Rusev above Alistair, but they're pretty comparable. Karrion Kross and Scarlett obviously no longer work there. I think that is legit. I think they could be brought back. I still think there's a big chance it's a work, as far as like we're actually letting you go, but we know when we're bringing you back sort of thing. I still can't speak to that entirely. But regardless, going off the 3-year run that they had in WWE from July of 22 to August of 22, or it was actually August of 22 to August of 25. It was good. I mean, it was fine. It could have been a lot better. I mean, he only organically got over earlier this year. But prior to that point, he feuded with Drew McIntyre in late 2022. He was on the show a fair amount with the Final Testament last year. He was also on SmackDown a fair amount in 2023. He just never really won whenever it mattered most. That was kind of the problem. Didn't win a whole lot of matches. Didn't wrestle a whole lot of matches earlier this year as well. The Sami Zayn feud was fine. I like the feud. The matches were okay. He's a B category guy for me. I'll put him below Bray, but above Kairi Sane. Because it never really felt like they did much with Karrion. He did more than Kairi and Carlito. And he was on the show a fair amount. He definitely had a better run this time than he was with the company on the main roster in 2021, which was fucking terrible. And I'm glad they brought him back. It was a big, exciting thing. Supposed to feud to the Bloodline. They teased that whole thing. And it never really went anywhere. He did feud with Drew, but not the Bloodline. Anyway, it was a fine run. It could be a lot better. I would love to see him come back, but clearly Triple H is not interested in pushing Karrion Kross, because if he was, he would have pushed him by now. Tegan Nox, big Tegan Nox fan. Her return run sucked. She was let go last year. She was gone, or she was back for 2 years, actually. 2 fucking years. But she did literally nothing in 2024. I think she was on TV maybe a few times. And the only real push that she got was in 2023 at the end of the year, when she feuded briefly. Like, she had an NXT Women's title match with Becky Lynch. May have feuded, like she was teaming with Natalya. That never really went anywhere. That was really about it, right? I think she had a match or two with Xia Li. She was never really brought back to NXT full-time. I was very happy when she was brought back, because she got fucked over the last time. She may have gotten hurt again. I don't think so. She's cleared that up. She was hurt a fair amount in NXT. On the main roster, I don't think she was hurt at all. They just didn't have anything for her. But her run was very disappointing. So, I mean, B-Fab is still there, to be fair with you. I mean, I'll still put Tegan above B-Fab because, honestly, I'll put B-Fab above Tegan. It pains me to do that, but I might have to even put her below Authors of Pain, because at least they were on the show far more than she was. They got a Mania match out of it. She didn't get shit. Tegan was disappointing, I hate to say. Not her herself. I like Tegan. I thought her matches were fine. But WWE's use of Tegan was really unfortunate. The OC's run sucked. I'm sorry. Like, it was cool when they were brought back and reunited with AJ. After that initial feud with Judgment Day, they didn't do anything. Like, AJ got hurt, and it was really telling that whenever AJ was off the show, they were off the show. Triple H had no fucking plans for those guys. And the only reason they were brought back was to make it up to them after Triple H presumably, reportedly, offered them a whole lot of money to stay, convinced them to stay in 2019, and they were fired anyway in 2020 by Vince. Not by Triple H, but by Vince. And that was kind of like a make-good rehire, and they didn't do fucking anything. They were just really there supporting characters. Their matches in NXT last year were fine. It's just impossible to care about the Good Brothers in 2025. Who could possibly give a fuck? So when they were finally released earlier this year, I couldn't say I was shocked. They didn't really do anything. They were back for over 2 years, and a lot of that, they really weren't even on SmackDown. So they're definitely in the D category. I think, honestly, even Authors of Pain had a better run than they did. I mean, they were on the show for that full year for the most part. I'll put them above Tegan, but not by much, man. I mean, they really didn't do anything. Top Dollar didn't do anything. I mean, the Flop Dollar thing got over. So, you know what? Honestly, I might even put him in the C category because he was entertaining. He took the momentum that he had from his heel run in WWE and turned it into a very successful run that he's had so far in TNA. So I'll give him that. He was only around for a year, but I'll put him above, Ashanti worked there for longer. I'll put him below Ashanti, but, Top Dollar's run was not awful. I'll give him that. Like, his run was not terrible at all. It was bad in that he was fired within a year. They fired him, like, within a year of bringing him back, and only him, too. Not Ashanti, not B-Fab, just him. But he did get over with the heel stuff at the end there, and I thought he was finally finding his footing when they let him go, which sucked, but, at least he's transferred that success over to a solid stint over in TNA. Uncle Howdy is interesting. How can we really even describe this? Bo Dallas hasn't really done a whole lot. The Wyatt Six stuff was cool. When he was first brought in early 2023, I mean, that was so brief, it's kind of hard to go off of. The Wyatt Six stuff has been fine so far. I don't even know, like, what you would, like, the Uncle Howdy stuff is cool. Like, he's the best part of the group. And he's having more success now than he ever did as Bo Dallas, I guess, during his original run with the company. I would probably put him in B. I mean, he's more over than Karrion was, and he's a bigger star. I can't put him above Bray. Bray, even though his run was a lot shorter, Uncle Howdy, Bray was always the best part of that group. And whatever group they were going to do. So I'll put him right next to Bray. I feel like that's fitting. And Valhalla, I mean, she's got to go in the D category. I thought that was a fine role to put her in, was making her the manager for Viking Raiders. I thought that was cool when they brought her back to do that. I really wasn't clamoring for a Sarah Logan return because I didn't think she was all that good before they let her go a few years ago. And she didn't have any great matches at all when they brought her back in 2022. But as a manager for the Viking Raiders, it was fine. I mean, she fulfilled that role well. And then when the Viking Raiders became the War Raiders again, she wasn't going to fucking manage them because what's the point? They don't really need her as a manager at that point. They're not doing the whole Viking thing. So, seems like a nice person. I will put her in the D category, though, because her run was pretty fucking forgettable. I mean, the whole antler thing with Michael Cole got people, like, that was funny, I guess, but that was a one-off thing. I will put her below B-Fab. I don't know, man. She'd probably be above Tegan Knox because at least she was on the show and they found the right role for her, but she didn't really do anything. I'll put her below AOC. AOC. That's the politician. I'm sorry, below OC. That's what I meant to say. And that's my list. It's very mid-heavy. These are all the Triple H rehires, in my opinion. We have one A and two S's. That's not a good track record, but he brought back a lot of mid people and people that were good but didn't really amount to their full potential. That's not great. That's not a great batting average for Triple H. I mean, all the B categories, even these were disappointing, especially Karrion Kross. I mean, he could be doing, and a lot of these people don't even fucking work there anymore, so. He has hired a lot of people that are good, and hopefully Aleister Black can move up this list, Rusev can move up this list, Nikki can move up this list. They just haven't been back long enough. So, there might be people I'm missing, but these were all the people that I could remember and could think of as far as people that Triple H rehired for an on-air capacity, not William Regal, who was a backstage person, and some of the agents and stuff like that. But anyway, here's my list of Triple H WWE rehires. Eric Young, in this order from worst to best. Eric Young, Emma, Tegan Knox, Valhalla, the OC, that being Anderson and Gallows, AOP and Paul Ellering, B-Fab R-Truth. C category, Eric Rowan, Top Dollar, Ashanti the Adonis, Candice LeRae, Nikki Bella, Dexter Lumis, Aleister Black, Rusev. B category, Carlito, Kairi Sane, Scarlett, and Karrion Kross. Uncle Howdy, Bray Wyatt, Michin, Dakota Kai, Braun Strowman, Johnny Gargano. The only person in A is Bronson Reed, and then S, Naomi, and CM Punk. That is it. That is my list of best Triple H rehires, all the Triple H rehires, dating back to the summer of 2022. And Vince had something to do with some. Oh, actually, you know what? Fuck. Bro, I'm such an idiot. I forgot Nia Jax. How could I forget Nia Jax? Holy shit. I will go back and add Nia Jax. I apologize. I forgot Nia Jax. How could I forget Nia? I think I thought that she was just not. She's always worked there. She was never let go. Damn it, I forgot Nia Jax. Fuck. Okay, Nia Jax would be an A. I would put her above Bronson Reed. So I'm going to actually adjust this list after we're done recording here. And you guys, if you fill out the list for yourself, you'll see Nia on here. But yeah, Nia would be on here and she would be in the A category. So we would actually have 2 A's and 2 S's. That is my final list, though. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. For more information on how to become a channel member and get videos like this early and ad-free, like I said earlier at the start of the video, more information on that down below in the description box, in addition to every other installment of this very show, WrestleRant Ranks. If you want to support the channel at the very least, just be sure to like this video and subscribe. All that support is greatly appreciated. Until next time, folks, until next Monday for another all-new episode of WrestleRant Ranks, I'm Graham G.S. Matthews. Have an awesome one, and I'll catch your ass down the road.